Hey everybody, welcome to another video. This is going to be a topic about knives and particularly knives made in China. Okay. Um, I know there is a lot of criticisms and judgmental opinions about products made in China, and rightly so, because overall, in generally speaking, historically, things made in China, products made in China, are not of good quality. Uh, Mainly because it's made with very unrefined machinery, unskilled labor, cheap labor, and most of them are generic products um, made to appeal to very cheap consumers. Okay. Um, yes, most generic products made in China are not worth your money. Do not buy them. Uh, it's better to save your money and buy quality stuff than to just waste your money on things that are just going to break on you, things that are not going to work as well, things that have very little value to them whatsoever. But all in all, unless they are disposable products that you use one or two times and throw away, um, if you want good quality products, you want to look and inspect those products before you purchase them, and go with companies that are reputable and produce well-made products. Now, with all that said, let's delve into the actual products itself. Okay, number one, if you are saying all products made in China is junk, then you are totally wrong. Okay, you have to understand there are a lot of things today made in China because of economic reasons, because companies today need to maximize their profit. They are, yes, using cheaper labor overseas, and one of those places is China. Products like Apple products, products that are well known name brands today, use Chinese labor to produce and manufacture their goods. Now, with that said, let's look at these knives. These two right here are Rough Rider knives. Rough Rider is a brand that Smoky Mountain, an American retail company, uh, authorized and licensed to produce, and they make these knives overseas in China. Okay. Now, with that said, this knife here is a Rough Rider knife. It is their old Southwestern um, series, and this one in particular is a Stockman style knife. Okay, folding knife. They call it the Stockman. And the Stockman is basically the name of the type of pocket knife it is. Other companies like Case, Great Eastern Cutlery, and Boker Knives, they make this style of knife. It's called the Stockman. Okay. Now, overall, the quality of this knife is excellent. It's made very well. But what are the materials? I think this is 440 stainless steel. 440 is basically your common steel that is used in many utility knives and utility tools. Okay, is it the best steel? No. Is it the best quality steel? Well, I don't know. I'm not a metal expert, but I can tell you that overall this is a very well made knife. For the money, you can't beat it. But as a knife, I can tell you that it's junk. Why is it junk? Because it's not sharp. Okay? I cannot cut paper with this knife. Not easily, anyway. Why? Because it doesn't come with a very sharp edge. No one took the time at the factory to make sure this was sharpened and honed razor sharp. It's not that kind of knife. It is a collectible, it is a decorative knife, but it is well made, and worthy of collecting it. Okay. Now, if you want to use this knife as a utility knife, yes, you would have to put an edge on this knife, hone it, uh, strop it, sharpen it, whatever, and it will be. And you can make it razor sharp, and you can go out there in the field and work with it all day. And but you would have to sharpen it and strop it more often than not to keep it as a utilitarian knife, a working man's knife, in order to for you to use it as a knife. Okay, but as a knife collector, I just love the way it looks, the way it was made. It's good quality, and for it being less than $20, it can bring you a lot of joy to collect. Okay, now there's a stigma. Yes, it's made in China. Okay, now because of that stigma, many people would not put a lot of value in this knife, and many people won't even consider collecting it. Now, if you went back in a time machine 100, 200 years from now, and you took this knife with you, people will look at it and say, "Wow, that is incredible! Look at the workmanship. Look at the." I mean, there is absolutely nothing about this knife that would tell you, "Hey, this is poorly made," because you know, 100 to 200 years ago, they didn't have machinery to be able to make all this so smooth and nice fitting and everything. And if you did have a knife like that way back then, it would cost a lot of money. But because of modern machinery on that, anybody can afford this, right? Okay, so if you're the type that says all Chinese made products are junk, and I kind of understand why you would say stuff like that, because I have dealt with a lot of generic Chinese made stuff that are just not worth not even a cent of your money, because it's better to buy quality materials, quality built stuff to get your job done. And a badly made knife can do harm than good, more harm than good if you're trying to work with it. So yes, I understand all that. Okay, but like I said, if you want to make this a working man's knife, all you have to do is sharpen it, strop it, and get the edge honed, and you can work with it. And then you may have to sharpen it more often than not, but it is what it is. It's a cheap knife made very well. Okay, along with this. Now I bring these two out. I have bought the other two recently that are actually more utilitarian. They did come with a better edge. They did cut better, and those knives are not decorative. They were made specifically for whittling and going fishing with, and those knives I believe will serve their purpose and do it fairly well. And those knives were made pretty decently too. The other two Rough Riders that I did a video on previously. Okay. Now moving on, here's another knife that was made in China. It's the CVV Elementum with better quality material. This is a CVV Elementum with the S35vn Steel. Am I a huge fan of S35vn Steel? I'm a fan of it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I do have a issue with this blade in some ways, because whenever I do sharpen it and strop it, it works great. But then it works great for a while, and then you have to do it again. You have to sharpen it and hone it. Now, I'm not a knife expert, and I'm not a very skilled sharpener. So I may be doing something wrong. Maybe I'm not sharpening it properly, and that's why the edge retention is not as good as it should be. But at the same time, this knife has I have I have actually used this knife. I haven't just carried it to just carry it. I have used it for work. I use it all the time to open packages. I go to this knife because it's so convenient for me to just pick it up and just open it real quick and get to work with it. So this knife gets used daily. Okay. Um, the preferred knife that I like to use is this, but it's not as convenient because you have to go searching for the tool that you need, and you have to open it with two hands, and then it's not as fast and quick as this. I just pick it up and say, let's get this packaged open real quick, okay? But I love this knife, and this is not an American-made product. This is made in Switzerland, okay? So very well made product. Love this product. And I'm sure if one day Victorinox said, well, we need to make these cheaper, so we'll uh, let China make it, I'm sure the quality of it will remain about the same. Okay, but here's the thing. My point is that although your opinions are based on experience, maybe, and also warranted, um, there are things, products today that we purchase that are made in China. And like I said, if they're generic brands and they're very, very cheap, usually they are junk. Okay, but most of the time, if it's backed by an American company or another well-known, reputable company not related to China is producing or manufacturing their products in China, usually their quality is not too bad. Okay, now let's get into why I am collecting Rough Rider knives. Okay, number one, I love the name Rough Rider. Okay, it just harkens me to think of the days of the classical old days of America. You know, it makes me think of the West. It makes me think of the frontier days. It just gives me that romantic notion that Rough Rider. Wow, that's you can't get any more American than that. Rough Riders. Okay, um, now, but it's made in China, and that will kind of erases some of that feel. But I'm comforted by the fact that these products were licensed and produced by an American retail company that is legendary. I mean, there is only one Smoky Mountain Knife Works store that I know of, and it's in the Smoky Mountains in, I think, North Carolina, right? I've been to that store once before, and I bought knives from that store, and I love that place. I mean, it's just legendary. If you are a huge knife fan, Smoky Mountain Knife Works should be your mecca. Okay, that is the place you have to go to at least once in your life to go shopping for knives. Okay, so to me, since Smoky Mountain Knife Works backs these products, this is their name brand, in-house brand product. Okay, yes, it's made in China, but they license the factory in China to make it, and they are Smoky Mountain Knife Works is responsible for these knives. They're putting their reputation on the line for these knives, so they're not going to allow the factory in China to produce a lot of junk. Are some of these knives coming out from that factory junk? Yes. Poor workmanship, shoddy details, shoddy fit and finish, bad quality control. Some, have put out some really bad knives from this name brand. But you have to understand, these days, if you look at some of the case knives, completely 100% made in the USA. If you look at some of their knives are junk as well. Poorly fit and finished, poorly made products, poorly put together. Yes, the materials maybe better. They may have better materials in them. Definitely better steel. Their their blades and their edge may be actually sharpened and honed to be actual really good knives, but at the same time, their quality control has gone downhill over the years as well. So you have to be very careful. Just because it has a case name brand on it and it says made in the USA does not necessarily mean that that knife is built well. It's a hit and miss sometimes with them. More now these days than before. So yes, I have heard a lot of complaints about case knives, um, but they're, regardless if they're made well or not, or the quality control is good or not, they're still expensive. You will not find a case knife under $30 brand new anywhere, unless, I mean, you totally caught a fabulous sale or clearance sale or something like that. Um, these knives right here, under $20. Okay, and I don't know about the material. The material may not be genuine. The steel quality and all that might not be as good as the case, but far as in how it's put together, the quality of the workmanship is right up there with case, in my opinion. Okay. Now, if you are the type that are if you like spending a lot of money because you're not poor and you can afford to do it, that's great. If you're buying a 100 to 200 to $300 pocket knife, and if you can afford it, that's awesome. But I tell you what, I'm not going to buy a $200, $300 pocket knife, especially a folder like this, just because of its name brand. Okay, I'm not going to do that. If I buy a $300 folding knife, it better be made out of genuine materials. It better have the best steel that money can buy. Okay, and it better be razor sharp right out of the box, and it better hold up. It better be tough. It better be not just elegant looking, or pretty, appealing, but it better also hold up under a lot of pressure and torture. Okay, that's, I'm just saying. Um, unless it's made, unless to me it's made out of real ivory, pearl, or a rare a wood directly from the tree, um, and all that, um, and the steel is very um, good steel, I'm not gonna pay $300 for it just because it has a name. If it's made out of plastic scales or same scales as the cheaper knives, and the steel is the same steel as the cheaper knives, and just because it has a name like Boker or Case or Great Eastern Cutlery, um, just because it has the name on there, I'm not going to pay $200, $300. It's got to be a knife with the materials and the quality build to show that it's worth $200. Okay, so now I recently watched a video. I think it's Williams Knife Life or something like that, and he was talking about one of his viewers commenting on his video that they said that the Rough Rider knives are just pieces of Chinese made junk, and they're not worth buying, and it's a waste of money, this and that. And he was defending Rough Rider's knives. The Williams Knife Life guy was defending the Rough Rider knives as telling the guy, hey, look, unless you can show me that you owned Rough Rider knives, unless you can tell me that your personal experience with these knives proved to be junk, and you explain that to me, then I'm not going to allow you to just make general statements that all Chinese made products are junk, and that this and that. And uh, uh, if you can search his YouTube name and find that video, you should watch it. It made a lot of sense to me. I'm not a huge fan of Chinese made products. I like to be patriotic and buy American made, US made products whenever I can. But objectively and fairly speaking, not all US made products are good quality products. Okay? We have lazy people in our country. We have people who are very indifferent and very don't really care about their work. ethic or their craftsmanship, and they go to work one day and start putting together stupid junk. You know, they don't follow procedures, and they quality control is just slacking and this and that. And they even good companies like Case produce or manufacture junk sometimes, and it gets passed through quality control, and customers wind up with subpar products, and it just that's bad. Okay, that's bad. That's bad for all Americans when things like that happen. But um, also, if you are 100% U.S. made, pro U.S. made product person, okay, be 100% pro U.S. made product person. That's fine with me too. But don't be a hypocrite. Don't say this is junk, okay, because it's made in China, but a Benchmade knife is not junk because it's made in USA and it's 10 times or 100 times better. No, it's not 10 times or 100 times better. This CVV Elementum is, in my opinion, is just as good as a Benchmade bug out. Okay? Am I saying is better? No. Uh, I'm saying it's almost or just as good as a Benchmade bug out. Okay? That's plain and simple because it is. Okay? Now, you don't say everything made in China is junk and then the only thing you're going to buy is USA made product, but then here you are, you own a Swiss Army knife and you're okay with it because it's not made in China, but it's made in Europe somewhere by Switzerland. Okay? Or don't say, well, I only buy USA made products. I don't believe in buying Chinese made products, but then you own Boker knives. Boker knives are legendary in the knife industry, but guess what? It's not made in the USA. It's made in Germany. Okay, so when you speak a lot of hate of products made in China, but then use it as an excuse that you just like U.S. made stuff, but then you own or respect products made in Germany or Switzerland or any other European country, you know, that's when you are bordering into that racism thing. Okay, that's when you are showing that hey, you're being biased against a race. Okay, um, I understand China deserves and earned the reputation that they make really bad, cheap products. Okay, but China is a big country, and not all Chinese factories are equal. Okay, some Chinese factories are actually owned by U.S. companies or hand in hand contracted with each other to produce quality made products. They have high standards. Uh, when you buy a quality made Chinese product, it is good quality. Okay, when you buy junk quality products from China, it is complete trash. All right. Now, that. With that said, most European countries that produce things like this, okay, and Boker knives and BMWs and Mercedes and stuff like that, yeah, they earned the reputation of very well made, good quality products, and they deserve a good reputation, and no one should trash talk them, right? But with Chinese made products, yeah, you have to kind of be more investigative. You gotta look into each individual product or company and judge by your own personal experience. You can't just generalize everything as it being junk. These two knives, I love them for what they are. They're decorative knives that they're a pleasure to look at, handle, pleasure to hold, you know. But would I take these out in the field and work with them? No, because they don't have an edge to them. They're not good cutters, and they're not good work knives because they just don't have an edge. Now I can go to like I said, I can go to a sharpener, sharpen it up, put an edge on it, and I could take it on the field and cut stuff with it, cut rope, cut vegetation, cut things with it all day. Okay, you can do that with almost any knife. You can do that with a utility knife. Okay, but these knives I bought because they're very pretty, they're well made, they're nice to look at, and they just give me that feel. The name of it itself, Rough Rider. To me, that just harkens me to think about American heritage, American Wild West, and you know what, folks, the American Wild West and American history is full of foreign-made products. Do you think? Do you think that America was built with all U.S. made stuff? Some of the better products, some of the better tools, some of the better knives were always made in Europe, always brought in from the Middle East or some other place. And people use those tools and those guns and knives out in the Wild West. Okay, so America was built with common man's tools. Okay, common man tools. Will a ranch hand that made, let's say, $1,000 a year in the 19th century or 18th century uh, buy an expensive $10, $20 knife? No, absolutely not. A ranch hand would go to the general store and buy a dollar knife made out of carbon, and he'll sharpen it and he'll work with it all day. And then if he loses it, yes, he's gonna cry about it. But then he's gonna go and buy another one. He's not gonna go buy an $8, $10 knife. I'm just, I'm not even sure if $8, $10 is such knives existed, because I think back then you could buy a handgun for $8, $10 probably, a junky handgun, but you probably buy, with that kind of money, you know. But anyway, even today, a person who works out in the field all day with knives all day long, every single day, is not going to take out a knife made by Boker or Case that's $100, $200, $150. He's not going to take it out in the field and work with it. You know why? Because the second he loses it, and people who use knives every day tend to lose knives. They misplace it, it drops out of their pocket, or it drops off their belt, or while they're working with it, they put it down to do something else, and they forget that they put it down and walk away from it, and they lose knives all the time. A person who works with knives every day is not going to use an expensive knife. No way. Because he or she has lost knives before, and they're not going to want to lose $150, $200 knife. No. Okay, so a person who works with knives every day, all day long, is probably going to use a utility knife or a cheap knife that he or she sharpens on and make it work. Okay, so worthy of collecting collectibles, knives like this, to me, are worthy of collecting. Will I collect more expensive knives? It has to be very special. It has to be made out of materials that are very rare. It has to be made out of very good steel. And in a way, it would be a waste of money to buy a knife like that, because I wouldn't even take it out to work with it. I wouldn't use it for common everyday tasks like opening boxes and cutting open packages. What a exactly for what a knife is made for. I wouldn't do that with a very expensive knife, because I would be scared that I would damage it or wear it out or tarnish it and this and that. Knife like that I may carry around just for show. Uh, Carry it around just to feel good about the fact that I own something really nice and good quality and rare materials. I may carry around for that reason, but it'd be hard for me to like put it in the dirt and cut a root with it. Recently I was mowing the lawn, and there was this big weed, or the weed brush that was grown thick and I wanted to pull it off the ground, and I couldn't do it. So I had to take my Civivi out and just cut that root off out of the ground, and it had to go into the dirt, and I had to cut that root, and I cut it. Okay, would I do that with an expensive $200-300 knife? No way I would do that. I wouldn't stick a $200 pocket knife that looks very pretty and made with really rare materials, and the steel is nice and everything. I wouldn't stick that in the dirt. No, I wouldn't do that. Okay, so these cheap knives have a place, folks. Okay, they earn some respect, because in at the end of the day, these are the knives. No, well, not these two, but these are the knives, the cheaply made Chinese products or cheaply made European products, like the Mora Kniv, made in Sweden. Uh, those knives are very utilitarian knives, very good knives. I would compare those blades, those knives, to any expensive knives. Those knives work excellently. Those are true workman's knives, and they're very cheap. Okay, I give those knives a lot of respect. Okay, and so, and these knives here deserve a lot of respect, because these are the tools that common people use every day as knives. So to be judgmental just because it's made in China, as much as I don't like Chinese products, as much as I do want to buy US made products, sometimes you got to look at it practically, and you got to say to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm a knife collector, or I like collecting knives. I'm gonna collect what I can afford to collect, and I'm gonna collect what I like, what I like seeing. And these two knives here, look at that. It's beautiful. It's got the white lining with the blue scales, copper lining with the white details right there. And they rightly call this the Patriot Series. And it gives you that, when you look at this knife, it gives you that feeling. When you look at this knife, you look at the colonial people. It reminds you of the colonial people. Just right down to the uniform the colonial soldiers wore, the colors, the white, the blue. It just gives you that feeling. It really does. I mean, you don't have to call this a Patriot Series at all. You just show this knife to me, and automatically I think of Benjamin Franklin. I think of George Washington. I think of the Patriot people. It just They did this knife perfectly. Seriously, they just named it perfectly. I coined the phrase that this is colonial blue. I made that word up. But the second I saw that blue, it just that name just that phrase just popped into my head. Colonial blue. Okay? You know the and yes, the etching on the blade, is it kind of corny? Is it kind of like it's laser etched, I guess, on there. But it's part of the effort and details that they put on this knife to fit this vibe more. Give it the vibe even more. The phrase that they put on here, give me liberty or give me death. I mean, I mean, if that's cool. It fits with the theme. But the words don't make this knife give you that vibe. The appearance of this knife, the colors that they use, the details that they put into this knife. The second you look at it, I think of Benjamin Franklin. I think of uh, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. I think of the forefathers of this country. I think of the colonial people. I think of even people of that era going to uh, to explore the West, even you know, towards that era. This knife right here, the second I looked at it, you don't even have to call this South or the old Southwest series. You don't. I look at it and automatically I thought of Texas. I thought of Southwest. Okay, I thought of Native Americans in the Southwest. You know, I thought of the old Texans and the Mexicans of the Southwest. This is a very beautiful knife that just gives you that vibe as soon as you look at it. Okay, so that's what made them collectible for me, because they gave me that feel, that vibe. Okay, made in China, yeah, it kind of washes that a little bit away, waters that down a little bit, but the fact that it's licensed and backed by an American company, that it is a company that is legendary, and like I said, it should be a mecca to all knife collectors. If you collect knives, I don't care where you live in the world, you need to get on a plane or get in your car and go drive there and take a look at that place. It's a great place to go look at knives. It is. Love it. Um, love this knife. Love this knife. I do have. Uh, Here's another knife. This one's made in France. Okay. Love all of them. Okay. There's no need for anybody to hate any of these knives, because they're all quality made products. Some of them may not serve as actual knives because they don't come with really good edges and that this and that, but they have their own eccentric value, their own separate reasons of why they're valued. Okay, um, the others made in China, very utilitarian knife, good knife. Okay, very cheap, very cheap. Could be made in China because it's so cheap, but very good blade, good knife. Okay, I don't think this is the cheapest knife out of all of them, and this knife probably would perform just as well as any of these knives. And these knives right here cost more. The each individual knife here costs more than this knife, but because these are decorative knives, but the blades are not as usable as this for sure. Okay, and you may say, well, Glock Ninja, where is the American made knife? Where's your American made product? Where's your case? Where's your Boker? Well, I don't have any of them because right now I don't see a value in them. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to pay $50, $60 to get the same quality as this. Now, if you show me a beautiful knife that really appeals to me, that case makes, that is $50, $60, and the blade is actually usable, yes, I would definitely purchase that knife because that's worth buying, worth collecting. But if Case made this knife and Rough Rider made this same knife, and I looked at both of them, I would buy this knife because this knife would be like 1/3 the price of a Case knife, 1/4 maybe, even 1/5. Okay, I don't know what Case knives are going for, but I looked at them basically. I think the cheapest one I found that Case makes was like $49 maybe, $50, $60. Okay. Um, but I do have one American made product, and that's the BK Becker 2, made in the USA. Love this knife. Okay. I love it. Um, to me, this is the end all be all survival knife. I know a lot of you say there is no such thing as a survival knife. You may say a survival knife is the knife that you have on you, but to me, This is a jack of all trade, master of none kind of survival knife that I can use as a knife. Also, I can use as a small hatchet because it's so heavy. It's 1 pound. I can use this knife like a hatchet. I can use this knife like a knife. I can use this knife to pry things and bash things and cut things and chop things. You know, this is the knife that stays on me. You know, if I had to carry a small bushcraft knife with a hatchet and a saw and this and that, and I, you know, ideally that's what you want to do. But the fact is, you don't. A lot of the times, you don't have a lot. You can't carry a lot of weight because you may have to hike many miles, and you don't want to carry all that stuff. This right here serves as a hatchet. This right here serves as a survival knife. You can skin game with this. You know, you do a lot of things with this. Will it do better than any purposeful knife, a hunting knife, specifically made for skinning game? Will it do better than that? No. But it's like I said, it's a jack of all trades, master of none kind of knife that will serve its purpose, which is it's a multi-use item made in the USA. Okay, and so I saw the value in that, and I bought it. Okay, because it was made in the USA, number one, and number two, it served the purpose that I wanted it to serve, and I love it. But anyway, that's my video, y'all. Leave a comment down below, please. I know this video is very long. Please like, subscribe my video, my channel. If you found this somewhat enlightening or entertaining, I just love talking about knives. Sorry that the video took too long, but just my opinion. Welcome everyone's opinion, regardless if you agree with me or disagree with me. I welcome everyone's opinion, but please kind of keep it respectful. Whenever I respond to you, I will do the same. Thank you very much, guys. See ya.